This is the place where champions are crowned and dreams come true. You're watching Fox Sports.
Yeah.
What do you feel like doing today, Mark?
I don't care. What do you want to do?
Why don't we check this out?
Dover Downs, home to the scariest monster of them all, the 1 mile concrete oval better known as the Monster Mile.
I think all you had to do is watch our race last year and you realize why they called it the Monster Mile. Things happen just that much quicker at this track than any of the others.
It's definitely some sort of a monster, that's for sure.
There's not a lot of places to go if something happens in front of you. If somebody makes a mistake, if there's an accident or whatever happens.
Go look! It's round number 7 for the Pep Boys Indy Racing League as the Indy cars tackle the Monster Mile next on Fox.
What'd you think of the movie, Diz?
Awesome.
We are in the capital city of the first state of the Union, Dover, Delaware, to bring you the exciting action of the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200 from Dover Downs International Speedway. Let's meet the men who'll cover the action from pit road. First, Calvin Fish.
The heat wave that has gripped the East Coast this summer is present today at the Monster Mile. Ambient temperatures approaching the 100-degree mark. With that heat comes fatigue. With fatigue, always the potential for mistakes. Now, not only in the race car, but also down here in pit lane, the teams have a lot of work to do, and staying cool will be key today.
Dover is an easy place to make mistakes, mainly because of the infamous bumps on the racing surface. They spent the off-season grinding them down. The drivers say it is smoother here, it is better, but this is still the most physically demanding track in the series.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Arud, and welcome to round 7 of the 10-race Pep Boys Indy Racing League 1999 schedule. These are the cars that compete annually at the Indianapolis 500. And joining us topside is a man who has covered the IRL since its inception, Vince Welch.
The 23-car field today will be led by Team Kelly. Its 2 drivers occupy the top spots in the front row, led by Mark Dismore. He's qualified yesterday at 182.6 miles per hour on this 1 mile high-banked oval. It's Dismore's second pole position of the season, but he's still looking for that ever-elusive first victory. Dismore's teammate is Scott Sharp. He's the defending champion at this race in Dover, and he'll start today outside row 1. Sharp got his first win of the season at the most recent Pep Boys Indy Racing League event at Atlanta. He carries momentum coming to Dover. Sharp's victory at Atlanta vaulted him to second in the points championship. He now trails the leader, Scott Goodyear, by just 19 points. And remember, you get 50 points for a win. The top 8 drivers are all within 50.
Well, to give us the driver's perspective, we bring along the 2-time Indy 500 champion, Ari Lyondike.
Dover is the fastest 1 mile oval track on the circuit with speeds in excess of 180 miles an hour. A lot of 2 and 3 by side racing here and a lot of action. The track is bumpy, it's going to be hot, it's going to be one of the most physical tracks. The speeds are attained because of the track's 24-degree bank, the corners, and a lot of downforce that the drivers have in their cars here. So it's going to be very difficult to pass. Pit stops are going to be very crucial in this race. Things happen quickly here. Everything's fine, and all of a sudden, boom, the car goes away, and you're in the wall. This is yours truly over here. Luckily enough for me, last year I wasn't injured.
Unlike many professional sports where accessibility to the athletes are limited, part of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League traditions are autograph sessions. And that's the site where we bring you the starting grid. For the second time this season, it's an all-Kelly Racing front row. Mark Dismore grabs career pole number 2. And teammate Scott Sharp, he's the defending Dover Downs champion.
Row 2, Gregoire fast at every race this year and finally winning his first race in Colorado. And Sam Schmidt, who's been knocking on victory door very hard this year, strong in qualifying, he's a potential race winner here.
Rookies fill the 3rd row. Scott Harrington hopes to convert the promise that he's recently shown into his first career victory, while John Hollingsworth hopes the 5 hours he spent studying the Dover layout puts him on the podium.
Row 4, Jeff Ward in the Yahoo car. Look for opening lap heroics from him here, and Davey Hamilton, who will make his 31st start in the series' 31st race.
Stefan Gregoire's pre-race ritual includes chowing down on a cinnamon Pop-Tart. While Robbie McGee, a graduate of Ole Miss, owns and operates his own computer systems company.
Row 6, Tyce Carlson. Man, you're signing autographs here. You're not driving yet. He's going to be strong today. And Buzz Calkins, the inaugural IRL champion, who had a great 5th place run in Atlanta.
The 7th row finds Robbie Unser, who says his most challenging goal this year, learn how to play the electric guitar. And Kenny Breck puts his 98 IRL championship crown on the line. He's this year's Indy 500 champ.
Row 8, first time for Jimmy Kite at the Dover Mile, and he says he loves this track. That's the attitude that could bring him success here. And Billy Boat, who was scratching his head yesterday after qualifying, he, after all, has 8 poles.
Buddy Lazier traded his Olympic dreams and his place on the U.S. ski team for a chance to win Indy. He did in '96. Scott Goodyear migrated from his native Canada in search of racing success. The only 2-time winner this season.
Row 10, he's far back again, Eddie Cheever, but that won't take long. He'll be fun to watch in the Soul Infinity. And Donnie Beasler driving the Big Daddy's barbecue sauce car, also a first-time starter here.
Eliseo Salazar crashed here in practice last year. It broke his body, but not his spirit. While Jacques Lazier, younger brother of Buddy, he's led races this, his rookie season.
All by himself, Ronnie Johncox on row 12, driving the TriStar entry, a car co-owned by 1997 IRL champion Tony Stewart.
All right, Ari, it's time for the command to start engines, and for that, here's David Elgino, Senior Executive Vice President for MBNA.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The start of the race will be coming up shortly. Plan to be with us. We'll be back soon.
Today's Pep Boys Indy Racing League event, the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200 on Fox, is sponsored in part by Pennzoil with Pure Base, made for the way you drive. Stop, go, Pennzoil. By Firestone, America's tires since 1900. By MCI WorldCom, the official long-distance and local service provider of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. And by Pep Boys, cars like us, people love us.
Well, the field is fired. They're under their preliminary laps. A good crowd here at the Dover Downs International Speedway. And the weather, track temperature, the most important element, Ari.
It's very hot here, but once the drivers are in the car, they are not affected by the heat as much as just waiting for the start of the race.
Taking a look at how the race will break out. 200 miles or 200 laps. That's the extent of it, but the fuel window is so important.
It's a wide window, 60 to 80 laps, and pit strategy will be a key. Keep an eye on drivers maybe taking early stops or those drivers trying to make it all the way, like Jeff Ward says, to the full 80 laps.
Ari, the keys to the race today.
A lot of traffic here is going to be very difficult to pass, and therefore pit stops are going to be very important as far as strategy. Driver fatigue and crew fatigue are things that are going to come into play in this race. Very warm here today.
And we have a treat for you. You'll be able to ride on board. Starting in the 18th position, current point leader Scott Goodyear in the Pennzoil Panther machine.
Buddy Lazier starts inside row 9. He was second here last year in the Delta Faucett Coors Light Dallara, running for Ron Himmelgarn.
Outside of row 7, defending Indy 500 champion Kenny Breck in the Power Team AJ Foyt car.
Sam Schmidt in the 99 car starts outside row 2 in the G-Force by Sprint PCS.
We told you it's an all-Kelly front row. The Delphi Automotive people bring us Scott Sharp, defending champion for this race.
And just to the left of Sharp is his teammate, Mark Dismore. He's the pole sitter for Kelly Racing, the Dallara, sponsored by MCI WorldCom.
So the Oldsmobile Aurora pace car has the lights extinguished. We are just about 1/4 of a lap away. They're down in turn 3 and 4. This is the slowest that they will go all day. They'll have to come up through 2 gear changes. You can hear the crews trying to tell them to gather it up, be real close on the brake. Let's watch and listen.
Flag control.
Boy, one move that tries to make quickly is that Jeff Ward. The Yahoo machine dips to the inside and tries to gain a couple of spots.
But he got held up because the car in front of him slowed down, and it actually cost him position. Davey Hamilton was able to go around the outside of him.
Great start for Scott Sharp. He busted in front of his teammate, Mark Dismore, and he leads this first lap.
Very important to be a leader here because it's so difficult to pass. So now Scott Sharp has a clean track in front of him. The next guy he's going to run into is a guy that is going to be lapping. But that's not going to happen very quickly because the field is so tight.
Right behind Sharp and Dismore, that yellow car is Gregoire, a former winner here in 1999. Field has strung out just a bit, but for those of you that are new to Indy Racing League competition, many positions are still in play when you're that far away.
The whole field right now is just separated by 7 seconds, so Scott Sharp, it's going to take him a while before he gets to the first back marker. Everybody's really well on the pace here, and a nice clean start of this race.
Running back in the 4th position, Sam Schmidt. John Hollingsworth in the MCI Lycos car, in the WorldCom car. In 5th spot, Hamilton in 6th, Gregoire in the 7th spot, and Scott Harrington streaks through your screen in the Certainteed machine in the 8th position.
A group of cars we've been looking for today: Billy Boat, Buddy Lazier, Scott Goodyear, Eddie Cheever, starting back in rows 8, 9, and 10. Look for them to move to the front, but right now in these early laps, they've not made many moves to pass other drivers.
Not many moves there yet, but Billy Boat is running in 14th place, so he's moved up a few spots. Everybody's pretty much single file right now. It's a very clean race so far.
Treating you with a new look from the rear side of the Delphi Automotive car that's leading this event, Scott Sharp, clear sailing in front of that concrete ribbon of that we call the Monster Mile. The telemetry, Ari, very telling of flat-out racing.
He's off the throttle just a little bit, but that's not going to take a few more laps until he gets, you know, comfortable and get into a groove and rhythm, and he'll be flat out the whole way. But right now he's just a tad off the throttle, but he can do that. He's the leader. He's trying to save the equipment by breathing the engine just a little bit.
Sam Schmidt and John Hollingsworth, and that's the battle for 4th place. Hollingsworth leads the sprint PCS Rookie of the Year category, and he was the fastest qualifier at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500.
You watch Sam Schmidt as he tries to hold at bay that John Hollingsworth machine. Hollingsworth carrying number 42, reminiscent of the number his dad used in the 60s. Field has settled down in the early going here, but Dismore looks like he might begin to close.
Yeah, Dismore has closed in, but, you know, closing in is one thing, getting by is another. But he looks like he's a little bit quicker than Scott. Now let's have a look how he closes in through 3 and 4 here. We saw that Scott Sharp earlier was a little bit off the throttle, and it doesn't take much to close the gap when the guy in front of you is just backing off slightly, and he is closing in.
You want to feel for what it's like to run around a 1-mile concrete oval? Right on board with the MCI WorldCom car is Mark Dismore sneaked a peek to the outside, and he thought better of it.
Here we can see how close he is from the back of Scott Sharp's car. But Scott Sharp, he can afford to back out of the throttle a little bit without actually getting past, and he's breathing his engine. You want to give the engine a chance to breathe every now and then, not go flat out the whole day.
You see the mirrors on the car right here? They're only about 2.5 inches wide, but boy, when you look in that mirror and see your teammate filling it up, you know that that position may be in jeopardy.
But it's also it's a little bit more comfortable having your teammate in your mirror than a guy from a different team, because he's not going to be as aggressive with you as he would be with another driver. So there's a lot of respect between these two guys as well. And Mark clearly has the faster car, and he's...
In fact, Dismore and Sharp have really opened it up over Gregoire. He's 2.2 seconds behind the leaders. Davey Hamilton is slowing down on the inside apron, just coming into turn 4. He's going to come to the pit lane.
Unexpected pit stop for Davey Hamilton in the Rick Gallis Final Conquest car. Certainly not what Davey Hamilton had hoped for. He has started all 31 IRL events in the racing series history.
And that's a heartbreaker for Hamilton, because he desperately wanted to win this race. He's not won a race on the Pep Boys Indy Racing League circuit, and that haunts him a bit. Making an early stop, obviously they've got some problems. They're going to be playing catch up here today.
Scott Sharp has led from the drop of the green flag, but Mark Dismore continues to show that he wants that lead. Ray Schmidt Hollingsworth in 5th. Welcome back to the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200 at Dover Downs International Speedway. You look in front of Scott Sharp's car that currently leads this event. In second is the MCI WorldCom car. That's who you ride on board. Steve Rogie, let's update the front 2 cars.
Yeah, right now, Davey Hamilton is in the pits with an apparent electrical problem. They're hoping that that's the reason why their motor quit, and not because something was seriously wrong in the engine. Hamilton with a prolonged stop here trying to fix the problem.
But boy, let's go back to this battle for the front position as we look back from Scott Sharp, your leader. And Ari, it looks like Dismore is all over the place, but that's because he's faster?
He is faster than Scott Sharp right now, and we saw Eddie Cheever almost make a move on Buzz Calkins. He had earlier passed Billy Boat, who was right behind him here, and he wasn't able to make that pass on Buzz Calkins, so it cost him speed. Now he's getting back up to momentum. It'll take him a few laps, but Eddie was really on a roll there, as we predicted in the beginning of the show.
Watch the purple car on the outside. That purple with the little bit of green tint on it, that is Buddy Lazier. Lazier is trying to take that spot away from Billy Boat.
And Lazier together with Cheever started way back with Scott Goodyear, but Scott Goodyear still lagging back there in 18th, but these guys are going forward slightly.
Lazier's picked up a couple of spots. Cheever, you looked at, he was really on the move. He's gone up 6 spots in the early stages here.
Looking out the back of Scott Goodyear's machine, the current points leader is posted in the 18th position at the present time. He is staring back at Big Daddy Donnie Beechler in the 98.
It's been a real up and down weekend for Goodyear as we go back to the leaders. Goodyear was so quick in the early part of the week, then they slowed down. They had a tough qualifying time, and they were hoping to pick it back up in that last practice session yesterday and have a good race.
I think what Mark Dismore is thinking here, you know what, it's so difficult to pass. I might as well just stay behind Scott because they clearly are stretching their lead over the rest of the field. And, you know, you don't want to push the issue this early. The pit stops will play a key role in who comes out first here.
Calvin Fish, what's the mood of the Kelly Racing team running 1 and 2?
They're very happy right now. I just spoke to Tom Kelly, co-owner of this team, and he said there's no team strategy or team orders. He said, I told the boys to go race and have fun.
How can you have fun at 181 miles per hour?
It's a lot of fun. This track is really a lot of fun for the drivers. The only thing that they don't like about it is the closing rate on the guy in front of you is so big if something happens to the guy in front of you, because we are running here at well close to 180 miles an hour race speed.
If you listen to the onboard microphones here on Mark Dismore's car, as they go over the shaved areas of this racetrack, you'll be able to hear the chatter. Is that disconcerting for a driver?
Every now and then he has to ease out of the throttle when he gets closer to Scott Sharp. You see, as soon as he gets close, he has to ease out of the throttle.
Good, Mark.
You're looking out the back of Sharp's car for Dismore. When they go into the turns, look how Dismore runs a little lower line than Scott Sharp. Despite the fact they're teammates, they're running a lower line going to the corners.
That's right. He doesn't want to stick it up right behind the gearbox because he doesn't want the car in front of him to take the air away. So he'll move down a little bit lower if Scott stays high.
This is the battle for 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. On the point in the Yahoo machine is Jeff Ward. Behind him, Buddy Lazier in 14th spot. Billy Boat in 15th. Tice Carlson is in 16th spot, and it looks like Robbie Unser is closing from 17th.
Jeff Ward has dropped back, and Eddie Cheever has passed him. We didn't see that, but Eddie Cheever is ahead of this group. But this is the battle on the circuit right now.
I think one of the key things, too, is the fact that Scott Goodyear has not improved on where he started. He started 18th, and he's currently running 18th. And having run 27 laps, I expected Goodyear to go more towards the front.
Billy Boat keeps trying to box his way out of this tight group of racing, back and forth between Jeff Ward, Billy Boat, and Buddy Lazier. What's the situation on Ward?
Wardy is on an economy run here this afternoon. When he gets in traffic, he's trying to breathe the throttle and really not use full power. They've also got the engine on full lean. They're trying to stretch their fuel mileage as far as they can, do this race on 2 stops.
I'm not sure if that would be the right strategy there, Calvin, because, you know, you don't want to just drop back and let everybody pass you as well. It seems like he's being passed relatively easily. Back to the leaders here.
Scott Sharp has had it all his own way. He's been touring the racetrack in 19.8 seconds. How fast is that at the Monster Mile? 181.059 miles per hour. Welcome back to Dover Downs International Speedway. Scott Sharp has a lengthy advantage over his teammate Mark Dismore. Dismore's position, though, has come into jeopardy. As you look behind Dismore, there is an orange car, a yellow car right there. That is your 3rd place machine, Gregoire. And Gregoire has been really getting up close to the rear deck lid.
The reason why he got up close is Ronnie Johncock was being put a lap down by the leaders. Scott Sharp went by on the outside, and Mark got boxed in behind Ronnie, and that's what gave Gregoire a run. But Gregoire himself has been held up a little bit as well. As you can see, he's dropped back a little bit there.
Gregoire still being posted in 3rd, had probably the scariest moment of the weekend, Ari, in practice.
The only incident of the whole weekend is when his rear wing collapsed. just as he came out of turn 4. Luckily enough for him, it happened coming onto the straightaway and not going into the turn. He made a small spin going into one, but didn't hit anything. So far, a very safe weekend. So far, a very safe race.
We talked about guys that we were expecting to move to the front. How about Eddie Cheever? He started 19th. He's all the way up to 11th. Cheever finished 4th and 6th in the last 2 races. He's the only Infinity-powered machine here. And Cheever, week after week after week, starts toward the back, goes toward the front on race day.
Posted, as we saw, in the 11th position. Now the battle is tightened up once again between the Kelly Racing team. Trouble! Your leader, Scott Sharp, spins coming out of turn number 3 and into turn 4.
Very slow spin. It kind of happens slowly. Could be a problem with the tires. Could be a slow puncture. Something broke, he said.
Okay.
Very quickly trying to get out of the car. Scott Sharp, who led from the drop of the green flag, started on the outside of row number 1, and he gives way now under caution to Mark Dismore in the MCI WorldCom car. So we've had a lead change. Looks like Scott Sharp is okay, and now there's only one Kelly teammate on the point. Welcome back to the NBA Mid-Atlantic 200 at Dover Downs International Speedway. The track crew completing their work on cleaning up the Delphi automotive crash of this man, Scott Sharp.
Very slowly starting to spin around, and we see that his tire is flat before he hits the wall. The tire went down, the tire shredded, and that's what made Scott Sharp spin. We can also see it on the tire marks on the track. Here we look on the inside on the back of the car, and look at this here. Keep an eye on that. Right there. See how it's shredding? There we go.
That tire came off at 181 miles per hour. Will Moody calls the shots for Scott Sharp. He's with Calvin Fish.
He just observed that on the monitor here. Will, what did you think?
We lost the tire. It's unfortunate. The car was running well. It came with no hint of warning. It's really disappointing if we had a good car.
Coming off the win of Atlanta, you had a lot of momentum going. Had there been any handling problems? We hear a report a lot of the cars are going loose under the heat of the day. Was Scott happy with the balance of the car up until that point?
Yeah, he hadn't said anything about the balance of the car. We were trying to run a bit of a pace, to take it easy on the tires. We knew it was going to be a hot day, but this didn't give us any warning here.
Scott Sharp's out of this one, but Kelly Racing still lead with Mark Dismore at the point.
Certainly not the in-car camera view you want to have. Pit stops have been underway. Okay. At the top of the screen is Mark Dismore. Greg Ray is in the middle, and Sam Schmidt is on the bottom. That was your 1-2-3 combination during the pit stops. First out was Dismore.
Watch this right here.
Watch what happens.
Right there. Coming out.
Oh, and Ward gets hit.
He gets hit slightly from the back, gets a little sideways, but didn't lose control. So that was it's a very tight pit here, and the action is very, very close. See, just a little nudge there from Sam.
You're talking about less than 23 feet of blacktop before you get to your pit stalls here at Dover Downs International Speedway. So the track crew continues to clean up. Dismore's your leader. Ray, Schmidt, Harrington, and Brack. We'll be back. This week, Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week will take you down to the field with Fox's Sounds of the Game when the Giants battle the Braves, plus other regional action. It all starts at 12:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific with In the Zone, followed by the E-Trade pregame show. Welcome back to Dover Downs International Speedway. Scott Harrington in the Certainteed car is doing very well. He's in 4th spot. Let's talk to Steve Rogie and his car owner.
Yeah, his car owner and his father, Gene Harrington. Scott fell back a little bit at the beginning, but you made it up with the pit stop. How's the car?
The car's great. This Certainteed team did a fantastic pit job. Stopped and got us up. Scott likes the car. We're in good shape. This is a long race. We're kind of biding our time, but the Certainteed car is running real good right now.
They're happy in this pit.
They had a good pit stop, and in previous races, Scott had trouble getting out of the pits because of his injuries, but not today.
So Scott Harrington posted in the 4th spot on this restart, but watch Mark Dismore. That is your leader in the MCI WorldCom car. Clear sailing, but look what goes on right behind him at the drop of the green flag.
Those guys are right on him. They're right with him.
That yellow car is Gregoire.
And he missed the gear, and Gregoire got a little close on that deal, but not close enough to get by.
Kenny Breck picked up a couple of spots, too, as he got around on the outside on a good restart.
Sam Schmidt also beginning to come to the front, as is Stefan Gregoire. The Next Mill Tokheim car now being posted in the 6th position.
Just as we talked about Harrington and talked about him getting in and out of the pits very well, he's lost a couple of positions on this first lap of the restart.
That was very strange for him to drop back that much. I think he got a little caught out by the fast restart that we had.
But watch the car that is right there on board with the power team car. That is Kenny Brack. Brack has been all over the backside of Sam Schmidt like white on rice. He has gotten a lot of good restarts in his career, and right now he used it to his advantage. He's posted in that 4th position.
And look at what the bumps do to this movement, to his hands on the steering wheel. Just a lot of back and forth jolting. Look at this here. That's not him turning the wheel. That's the bumps putting that in the steering wheel.
Cheever continues to move up. He's all the way up to 8th now.
Cheever looking to go by Robbie Unser here. That's position 7th place they're fighting over.
Calvin Fish can update on Eddie Cheever, Calvin.
Eddie Cheever had the car going loose during that first stint, but when they made the pit stop and changed tires, they recognized the fact that the right rear had actually gone flat. So that incident by Scott Shelp actually saved Eddie Cheever from maybe hitting the wall or certainly losing a lot of time out there on the track, guys.
This is the battle directly behind that of Kenny Brack with Stefan Gregoire, Harrington, Unser, Cheever Jr. They are all engaged in a spot for the top 10.
Should make note of Robbie Unser as well. Unser has moved up after...
Great move here by Scott Harrington. He almost made it, but look at what it does to his momentum. The car behind him now gets a run on him and might even overtake him pretty
That
soon.
silver and red car is Robbie Unser. Unser goes to the high side, and look at Cheever dipping down low to the inside. This is the contest for the 7th spot.
This is where the spotters come in. Robbie Unser did not come down on Eddie Cheever because the spotter told him, guy on the bottom, guy on the bottom. And here he's giving him room, see? Enough room to race, but not enough room to pass.
Those guys were teammates here a year ago, and both ended up in crashes, both Cheever and Robbie Unser.
You talk about momentum. All of a sudden, it was a 3-car battle, and 2 more cars have joined in. The black and white car for John Hollingsworth and Billy Boat. When you break the momentum, it gathers back in.
And in front of that group, you saw that group is pulled away a little bit. So once the momentum gets broken, it takes laps to get it back again. But this is exciting stuff to watch. Eddie Cheever is really doing a great job coming back from 19th starting position. See, now they're all settled in after that restart. Everybody's a little less crazy than they are at the start, because at the start, that's the one thing about starts and restarts. Try and use that to pass somebody, because then everybody's still really bunched up. Now the field is stretched out, but here we go again.
That's Cheever looking to the inside of Robbie Unser. That's the battle for the 7th spot. They snake around this concrete canyon, and it looks like there still is a variety of lines as well, even though this is a very narrow place.
2 side-by-side is possible. 3 side-by-side through the corners is not a good idea. Sam Smith's closing in on Gregoire.
This is the battle for 2nd spot. The yellow car is in the 2nd position. It is Sam Schmidt in the black and white car as we take you on board. And you notice it says on the dash, be patient.
Oh, man, they should have done that with me in Indy.
How do you make the pass? How do you make the pass here, Ari?
See, he had to back out of the throttle here because he picked up a little bit of push, which would have moved him up close to the wall. He didn't want that, so he had to back out, drop back right away. It's a matter of timing.
Gregoire. Oh, Cheever.
Eddie Cheever.
Pits are closed. Car 28's your leader. Move out, please.
Eddie Cheever has crashed into the wall here at the Dover Downs International Speedway, bringing out the 2nd caution of the afternoon. Cheever making contact with another car, and this will slow things down. At the time, Cheever was posted in the top 10.
That's the 2nd year he had a crash, and 2nd time coming out of turn 2.
Cheever said last year he lost $800,000 here at the Dover Downs International Speedway because he and his teammate Robbie Unser crashed. Well, Calvin Fish, you're standing by with Owen Snyder, who's got to be disappointed.
Shakes his head. Oh, and this place hasn't been kind to you and the team.
Well, it sounds like Eddie's okay. That's the first thing. Just way too early to get that aggressive. I thought we learned that lesson last year with Gregoire, and just had a really good car. We're just getting in our mode and waiting for another pit stop, putting it all together, and just running real quick, competitive, and passing people. You know, we're we're moving to the front. But you know, Eddie, he gets impatient sometimes and gets in a hurry. You know, we just we're constantly trying to slow him down, and that's hard to do to a good race car driver.
One Infinity is out of the field, guys.
Well, they said it's hard to slow Eddie Cheever down. Well, he's been slowed down here at Dover Downs International Speedway. He's out of the car now, and we'll be back to take a look at things with Dismore in the lead, Schmidt in third, Ray in the middle. Back at Dover Downs, John Hollingsworth has made a change on his nose cone. The cost, over $18,000 for Hollingsworth in that accident. How did he lose the nose cone?
He bumped into the back of Eddie Cheever, and that's what sent Cheever into the wall, and we'll get a good look at it right here. Watch Cheever go around the outside with Robbie Unser and Scott Harrington.
Slow down.
And then all of a sudden, there's Hollingsworth in the back end.
The closing rate of the guy behind when the guy in front slows down is so big. That's exactly what happened. Cheever thought he could make the outside move, had to get out of the throttle. Hollingsworth was on it hard, hit him from behind, and it's not a big crash, but it put him out.
And Billy Boat almost got into the back of Hollingsworth.
You may have experienced this
and
yourself.
And then look at this. The guy underneath Cheever just missed him, and that was Buddy Lazier.
You've had this happen to yourself sometimes on the interstate when you got a slower car in the left-hand lane and you close.
Here's
but
Buddy.
You do it 3 times slower than it happened here.
3 of the top 4 in the points race now have had some problems as you see Cheever get up into the wall.
Now watch the yellow car right on the high side. That yellow car is your point leader, Scott Goodyear. Boy, did he just sneak through.
We talked about 3 of the top 4 having some problems, and now Jeff Ward is having some pit work done. Calvin Fish?
They changed the black box. Mitch Davis and the crew went to work. They sprayed the ether in the airbox, fired him up. He's ready to go back on track, but he's lost a lap or 2. Update on Scott Goodyear. The car was very loose during the first stint. They've made some tire pressure adjustments. He's now running as fast as the leaders.
Well, that'll change the point standings considerably as we go on board your points leader in the Pennzoil Panther car, Scott Goodyear.
Very smart strategy for Goodyear. He was not out there pushing things in the early stages, just out there biding his time, letting the race come to him, and all of a sudden, the 3 people behind him in the points race have had some problems, and now Goodyear's moved all the way up to 11th.
Sometimes the name of the game on a 1-mile oval is just survival.
Just like it says on Sam Schmidt's dashboard, be patient.
Here we go.
Now, if the points ended today, right now, the way they're running, look at the changes. Gregoire would find himself in second. We're going back to green, though, with your leader, Mark Dismore, looking for his first career IRL victory.
Sam Schmidt had a very slow restart, got passed by 2 guys. Right now, Sam is back in 5th spot. I think Sam had a problem with shifting to the next gear, must have missed the gear, and that's what slowed him down quite a bit so that the other guys got by.
The guys that got by are Kenny Brack in the Power Team car and Stephane Gregoire. You're looking out the backside of your leader, Mark Dismore, and look at Gregoire turn the heat up in second.
Gregoire is on the charge, and look, he's going right by Jeff Ward, and Ward's folks thought that they had a great race car coming here to Dover, and Ray ran right by him.
You see how quickly traffic can come into play? Kenny Brack used Jeff Ward as a pick to close on the second place yellow car, Gregoire.
Well, Jeff Ward, very professional, knows he's in trouble. He stayed out of everybody's way, and everybody got by pretty good.
A lot of high expectations for Eddie Cheever, but they come for naught today. Here's Calvin Fish.
Eddie, you said this race was so important to the championship. What happened out there?
Noisy.
That really hurts our chances for the championship, but that's racing. It was in a bottleneck. I got a rod on Robbie. Robbie drifted up. Which is no big deal. It's a 1-mile track. They'll be here in a second. Robbie drifted up. I had to back off, and I got hit from behind from Hollingsworth. It's unfortunate.
We've got trouble. We've got trouble. Big trouble out of turn number 2 and midway down the straightaway. Eliseo Salazar is involved.
And John
As is John Hollingsworth. Tice Carlson also being called into play. You could see him in the left-hand side of your screen.
You see Hollingsworth is moving around. That's definitely a good sign. And how about Eliseo Salazar? A year ago, in practice before this race, he was also involved in a very serious crash. Hollingsworth showing his disappointment there with his fist. This, for Salazar, was supposed to be the final stage to his rehabilitation after having so many bones in his body broken in this crash a year ago. comes back and now involved in an early incident with Hollinsworth.
So we are working on our third caution of the afternoon, and this is a big one. Cars have slowed down to a crawl because we've got an accident on the backstretch. Welcome back to Dover, where we are still under the third caution of the day. I'm Jack Arute with Vince Welch, Jari Lyondike, Calvin Fish, and Steve Rogie. You see the crew working on the remains of one of the cars involved, John Hollinsworth. Here's why.
Watch Eliseo Salazar come through in the green and yellow car. Gets upside down on the side as he scrapes along the wall. We'll show you why the accident occurred. Here's Salazar coming through. Now watch, we'll stop it. Look, his wing is down in the rear wing. Just folded down on the backside.
There you see it behind the car. The car is totally out of control here. He hits the wall, the car gets launched and is on the side, but luckily enough for Salazar, comes back on its wheels pretty quickly.
Unbelievable. Two major incidents for Salazar here in the last 2 years. And then John Hollinsworth, who's now been in 2 situations.
2, and he is very, very frustrated. So Calvin Fish is down with his crew chief and team manager, Calvin.
Mark Wider is the crew chief, and Mark, it's been a tough day on this bull ring for the young rookie.
Yeah, it sure has. We got just involved with the Cheever incident just a few laps ago and had to change the front wing and front nose box assembly. And the Lycos boys did a great job, got the thing done. We stayed on the lead lap. We were just biding our time. We were hoping we could do this in just one more stop from where everything was at. And I guess Salazar, it looked like from the replay that his wing fell off or broke off. And John tried to go down low almost to the pit apron to avoid, and he got caught up in the mess. And we're done. There's no fixing this one like Atlanta. We're done for the day.
For an update on the Salazar perspective, let's turn to Steve Rogie.
We have Bob Nienhaus, Eliseo Salazar's car owner. Bob, it looked like the wing fell off the car before the accident began. Do you have any idea what happened?
No, we don't know at this point, but from the replay, it's apparent that the rear wing collapsed. Whether it was hit or something happened, I don't know, but I'll tell you the whole Cristal team is very proud of Eliseo. Everybody knows the story of his comeback this last year from the crash he had here, and from the 6th lap in practice, he's been flat out and very aggressive. Today we had a little bit push in the beginning. We solved that, and the car was operating very well, so we're just glad that Eliseo's okay.
Quick question, he is doing all right?
He's doing fine.
All right, very good news there.
Indeed, that is good news. You know, a couple of days ago, this is what happened to Gregoire. We told you about it before. Another wing collapses, but in that case, it was going into turn number 1, and Gregoire was able. But Gregoire was able to maintain control. When he got sideways, it was in turn number 1. He rode without a wing all the way down the front straightaway. Today, Gregoire is in 2nd spot. And you know what it brings to mind as we work this caution? We want to say a quick hello to Steve Knapp, who was involved in that horrific crash in Atlanta, Georgia. He's resting at home in Salem, Wisconsin. How you doing, Steve? Saturday, the NFL on Fox heads down under to Sydney, Australia, where Terry, Howie, JB, and Chris watch the defending Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos battle the San Diego Chargers. Hey, we'll be pulling for the Chargers. Why? Because Scott Goodyear's co-owner, Jim Harbaugh, will play with them. Don't miss American Bowl 99 live this Saturday, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox. Well, Scott Sharp will not repeat as the champion here in Dover, Delaware. Steve?
Yeah, it was a blown tire that put him into the wall. Scott, this has to be disappointing, especially because I know you guys are really gunning for that championship.
Yeah, you know, we really came in here number 1 with the Delphi car. We wanted to get points, finish the race. Sure, it would have been great if we could have won or finished in the top 3, but it was getting points. And to be the first car out certainly wasn't in the plan, but once again, tire blows.
Any idea why it blew? Could it have been the heat, the bumps out there, or just bad luck?
I don't really know why. You know, the car was running really flawlessly. We really just, actually, I was, whenever I'd build up a little lead, I'd back off and let Mark catch me a little bit just to try to take care of the car, take care of the tires, and then next thing you know, it tire blows.
All right, Scott Sharp will continue to chase the championship for 3 more races.
We've told you about Scott Goodyear, the current point leader. Well, he's had a couple of problems on pit road. Let's check in with Calvin Fish.
He had to make 2 visits to pit lane, Jag. One was he had a misfire over 9,000 RPM. They believed it was the rev limiter. They did not tighten the bodywork down, send him back down so he didn't lose too many laps to the leaders. Brought him back in, tightened up. They just got their fingers crossed that has been fixed, but they are unsure as we speak.
Now, when he had those problems, he was in the 12th position, but due to attrition, right now, he's in 11th.
And one guy who's not having problems is the car you're looking at there, Stefan Gregoire, owned by Dick Simon, Mexmel Tokheim sponsorship. Stefan Gregoire started 9th, and he's up to 4th.
Now, on the restart, watch that car and the car directly in front of him, Kenny Breck in the Power Team car. They like to get a jump and try and grab some spots on restarts.
Especially Kenny Breck is very aggressive on the restart, realizes, hey, the field is together. This is my opportunity to move up.
We're out the back of Kenny Breck's Power Team car, coming up through the gearbox.
Flag, green flag.
Well, Bracken,
and you guys can't.
Bracken Gregoire did not make a jump, but how about Billy Boat directly behind him? He did.
Sam Smith lost several positions. I think he has a gearbox problem because he just keeps dropping back at the restarts. I think he lost like 3 positions. Robbie Unser went by, Billy Boat, and
Buzz Calkins also.
Well.
Here comes Big Daddy, the black car, number 98 on the inside. It's his young daughter's birthday this weekend, and he's challenging Schmidt for that 8th position.
The A.J. Foyt team, though, of Kenny Breck and Billy Boat, they did not have good qualifying runs. 14th for Breck, 16th for Boat. But look at them. Breck is running 3rd and Boat's running 5th.
Ari, what was that we heard?
Well, he went up 1 gear. He probably went up from 4th to 5th gear, but it's a long gear change, and the gear change is difficult, indicating maybe a problem with the gearbox.
There's Billy Boat right there in the purple and yellow car.
The blue, red, and silver car directly on the point is Stefan Gregoire in the sandwich in the middle. Well, that's the Harris car for Billy Boat. He looks to the inside. That's the battle at the present time for the 4th position.
And J.J. Foyt's team has, had a disappointing qualifying day, but they're sure looking a lot stronger on race day with Kenny Breck in 3rd and Billy Boat challenging Gregoire for 4th place.
The Petro Molly car, that black and silver number 81 that we keep seeing, 3rd in your screen, he's having a fine run. That's young Robbie Unser.
And not just a fine run today, Jack. He's had a fine run the last 2 races. In fact, Robbie Unser was 2nd at Atlanta, so he's got a bit of a roll in momentum. 2nd in Atlanta, having a good show today, and that's very important considering he crashed here a year ago as a teammate to Eddie Cheever.
Second generation driver is Unser. Billy Boat, he matriculated up from the sprint cars and the midgets into IRL competition, and right now he's involved in a whale of a battle for the 4th spot.
You see what he did there? He lost his momentum, but he stayed in the middle of the track to block and protect his position against Robbie Unser because he just lost the momentum, and Robbie wanted to capitalize on that.
When you're in the middle of a sandwich like that, is it fun or is it stressful?
No, it's stressful anyway. First of all, this race here is very stressful. There's never a moment to relax. It's bumpy. It's high speed all the time. You're always turning. Even the straightaway is a fight because the straightaway is so banked. You're turning up against the banking.
And drivers say because of that...
And he got by. Billy Boat got by Stefan Gregoire, and Robbie Unser looks like he's going to put a move on him as well.
Drivers say because you're on the edge all the time, you look up, you think most of the race is gone, and you haven't even hit the halfway mark. But we're coming close, just 6 laps away from 100 miles of the 200-mile schedule today.
And look at this.
Gregoire might be having a problem because Boat got by him after a couple of laps of following, and now Unser looks as though he's got the faster car as well.
This is where the battle is right now, and it is for the 5th position. Robbie Unser is trying to get around Stefan Gregoire. The 2 cars up in front of them are the 2 A.J. Foyt entries. That's Breck and Boat. So we've had basically a breakaway into 3 distinct pairs here at Dover Downs. Dismore and Ray for 1 and 2, Breck and Boat for 3 and 4. And this battle we keep enjoying between Gregoire.
The teammates. Boat is actually closing in on Kenny Breck, his teammate. So Billy has come back from way back, and he's got himself a real good race car now, challenging for 3rd place.
Billy Boat just got back from a family vacation, spent some time on the beach with Andrea, his wife, and their kids. And, sometimes you come back from vacation, everything moves a little faster. They struggled a little bit in the early going this weekend, but, boy, they've certainly gotten up to speed here on race day.
A $1 million purse up for grabs today, but Greg Ray just cashed in on a $10,000 bonus from his tire supplier, Firestone. First at 99, he gets it at the 99th lap.
Greg Ray running 2nd behind Mark Dismore, and as you mentioned, Jack, the 2 of them have a nice sizable advantage and a sizable gap between them and the 3rd place runner Kenny Breck. But Greg Ray's not pushing Dismore as you get a good look at Billy Boat out the back end of Breck's car.
Not to be outdone, your leader Mark Dismore just went cha-ching. He got $10,000 from Delphi for the halfway award.
And he's probably saying to himself, boy, we're only halfway. You know.
Exactly.
And looks like he's going to make a move. No. The spotter here again told Kenny Bragg, Billy Boat's coming, but, you know, getting up almost next to the guy is just not enough.
You may talk about team orders in Formula One competition, but when you drive for A.J. Foyt, when they drop the green flag, it's every man for himself. That's the case between Brack and Boat. You are looking from the backside of Brack's car to Billy Boat. They're not teammates right now.
Well, with a $1 million purse at the end of the line for the championship, you know, Kenny Bragg is in a lot better position for the championship than Billy Boat is. So at this stage of the race, Foyt might say, okay, just let him race. But at the end of the race, he's going to call the shots, I'm sure.
And keep an idea, Breck is 5th in the points race. Cheever, Ward, Sharp, and Goodyear, all those in front of him, have had problems today.
Right behind Billy Boat, there's a lot of activity taking place. It's a battle for that 4th position between Gregoire, Unser, and Schmidt. We'll take a look at it when we come back after this. Welcome back to Dover Downs International Speedway, where 94 miles remain in this MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200. Your leader is Mark Dismore. He took the lead after his teammate Scott Sharp blasted from the outside pole position, only to lose early a tire that put him in the wall. Dismore has said, I think I can win before the end of the season. He's been shut out so far. He's got 2 poles, and he looks pretty good right now, guys.
He's also had 3 top 10 finishes this season, but he hasn't challenged for a victory, and 10th in points is a big disappointment for Mark Dismore and this Kelly Racing team for the 28 car.
We're watching a 5-car battle right now, and that is for the 3rd spot that's held by Kenny Breck in the white and red car streaking through your screen. His teammate Billy Boat is in the 4th position, and then it is the Mexmil Tokheim car for Stefan Gregoire, and Robbie Unser hounding them right there at the back end.
Sam Schmidt is following that group of cars there.
Good news from the last accident. You saw Eliseo Salazar on his head scraping against the concrete. Calvin Fish, he's okay.
He is okay, but this Monster Mile has been tough on Eliseo 2 years in a row now. Are you okay? What happened out there?
I'm okay, Calvin, just a bit bruised. The rear wing collapsed in the middle of turn 1. Again, this track is a bit too bumpy for us, you know. They did a good job fixing some of the bumps, but still, you know, our rear wing collapsed.
200 laps here today, and attrition may still be a factor, guy, with the leaders.
We watch again a replay of Eliseo Salazar's scary moment. Consider the fact that you're talking about 1,900-pound race cars that have wings and under trays on them that can create as much as 4,000 pounds of downforce. Lose some of that, and Houston, we've got a problem.
Gregoire right here is 2nd place. He's just biding his time. He doesn't have the speed, or his speed is almost similar to Mark Dismore, and his pit stop is going to be crucial for him because it might be the last pit stop.
Now, we've also seen some interesting happenings with the Goodyear tires, not so with the Firestones, and that's the brand of choice for Greg Ray.
It's interesting, Ray runs the Firestone, Dismore runs the Goodyear tires, but Dismore showed no ill effects of the tire wear at this point, and he's having a great run. Had some flu-like symptoms earlier in the weekend, but nothing will make you feel better than leading the pack halfway through the race.
And they're sweating a lot here, so he's sweating that flu out pretty good because it's still pretty warm here in the 90s, and the track temperature is hot. We spoke about the physical aspect of this track, and you know, so far I don't think any driver has suffered from fatigue, but we've seen it happen with the cars where the wing fell off of Salazar's car. You know, the track is still very rough on the equipment.
We've talked about challenging.
The mixture all the way to the right, Mark. Fuel all the way to the right.
All right, they're talking about turning the mixture knob all the way to the right, Ari.
That could be richer, that could be leaner. I'm not sure, it's different on each car. In my car, if you would turn to the right, it's richer. So they seem to be okay on fuel. I don't think we're going to see a team with a fuel problem here. It's just a matter of when are we going to pit the next time.
Yeah, plenty of methanol fuel on these 35-gallon tanks you can take on board, but it's when you want to come onto pit road. We entertain you once again with the battle for the 4th position. On the point is Billy Boat in the Harris car. In the middle, well, that's the Stefan Gregoire car. And bringing up the rear, and he's about to be challenged. It's Robbie Unser. He's about to get a challenge by Sam Schmidt.
Boat's got a problem slowing down.
Billy Boat is slowing coming down into pit road. Is it or is it not a scheduled stop? I think this is very unexpected.
Certainly was running right in the mix there with Gregoire and Robbie Unser and Sammy Schmidt. Calvin Fish is there.
The crew is waiting on Billy to pull it down into the Hurrah Racing pit. Right now, we're unsure what the problem is. And they have the starter ready. They believe the engine may be dead, but they're trying to get him to slow down into his pit stall. They're going to change all 4 tires and refuel him. The engine is running as we speak, so this place may be strategy running out here, trying to get into their fuel window to finish this thing out.
Not the frenetic pace that you would expect if there was a problem. Could they, and I repeat, could they have miscalculated their fuel consumption?
Well, he's coming in, he's leaving the pits right now. Doesn't seem to have any problem on the race car. I didn't see them make any adjustments from that angle.
And now
our leader
Dismore,
comes
your
in
leader.
as well.
Your leader is pitting, so indeed, these are scheduled pit stops. We are rolling the dice and setting the stage for the finale here.
60-mile-an-hour speed limit here.
You're listening to the crew chief talking to Mark Dismore as he pulls down on the 30-foot wide asphalt ribbon onto the concrete pit box in Calvin Fish.
Mark Dismore pulls it in right behind him. Gregoire slides in as well. This is going to be a pit stop competition between the Kelly Racing Team and Team Menard, led by Tom Knapp. So far, looks like routine. They're waiting for the last drop to go. The wheels are spinning here. They drop the wheels out of here. Wheels are spinning on Gregoire. And Mark Dismore beats Ray out of the pits.
You saw on the onboard camera the yellow car directly in front of Dismore's pit stall about 40 yards up. Well, that was the guy he was trying to beat. Kenny Breck, who was in the second spot during that pit stop exchange, pulls onto pit road for service as well.
They didn't really come into the pits at the same time, so it wasn't really a pit stop contest. But if Greg Ray's team, if Mark Dismore's team would have had a problem, then Ray could have capitalized on that, but it didn't happen for him.
Now these green flag pit stops will begin to sequence through the field as we ride on board first with Lazier. And look who's the new leader, the man that is Mr. Patient today, and that is Sam Schmidt.
Yeah, it says it right there. Be patient, Sam. But I think Sam might have a problem with going through the gears on the restart. Twice now he's had a bad restart, and that is unlike Sam. He's been very good on the restarts lately.
Hung around since the start of the race in the 24th lap, and then all of a sudden now we've got a problem with Unser, Rogie.
Right, Robbie Unser ran out of fuel on that last lap, had to quickly dive into the pits. His team just now pushes him away. Before that, they said everything was going great.
So unfortunate for Robbie Unser. With 125 laps completed, here is the battle. Out on the racetrack, the one we're enjoying is the power team number 14. That's the white and red car to the right of your screen.
For the 11th and 12th spot, as you look at the back of Breck's car at Stefan Gregoire, both of these cars have been running very smoothly in that mid-section of the race. They seem to turn it up a notch.
Now, what about the leader, Sam Schmidt? He should be the last of the front runners, but Robbie McGee has moved into the second spot as well. We ride on board with Sam Schmidt. Neither of those cars have pitted yet. They're expected in about 2 laps. But a good run from the back by Robbie McGee in the Energizer car.
We've seen it a lot from Sam Schmidt, and he's on his way back to the pits. Let's listen how he shifts in the gears here, and if it goes smoothly. Okay, he's not shifting gears now, so.
Slowing down to maintain the speed limit here. Calvin, he's coming towards you.
Sam Schmidt brings it down. I just spoke to the crew. I said, is this his last pit stop? They said probably. They didn't seem real convinced. He has to go about 75 laps into a real stretch if they don't get any more caution period. They're saying there is no gearbox problem. They're concerned about Sam's restart. Why he's not up to speed more quickly. But the team goes to work. 4 scrub Briarstones going on. Turn the way for the very last drops of fuel. This will be critical. Good pit stop by the Sprint PCS team.
So 12.9 seconds. You take on 35 gallons of methanol fuel, 4 tires, and pull back out. But look who your new leader is.
Robbie McGee, one of 5 rookies in the field here at Dover, the Energizer car from Conti Racing. He was the Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500, but this is his first time ever leading a race in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. It's just his 4th race in the IRL.
What Robbie McGee is praying for right now is, please, God, give me a caution. Please give me a caution. He has completed 130 circuits, but he still has to pull on the pit road.
Well, for sure, he's our hypothetical leader right now, because he will come into the pit shortly, and behind him there's Billy Boat after his pit stop. We'll have to wait a few laps before the whole field shuffles back into its normal pattern here.
I think the car you want to watch is directly behind Billy Boat, 3rd in the sequence as we look at McGee. Now McGee will streak through. The 3rd car right there, that is eventually going to become your leader if we sequence through without a yellow. That's Buddy Lazier. Lazier has moved into second spot.
And Lazier started 17th. He's one of those guys we talked about at the beginning of the race that was going to be charging towards the front, and Lazier has done it, moving all the way up 15 spots.
And Lazier is also very quick on the track because he's moving in pretty quickly on Buddy Lazier.
Buddy Lazier's lap times are 1 mile an hour faster than your current leader. He's going around the racetrack at 180.823 miles per hour. How quick do you do it? In 19.9 seconds. Today, live from the legendary Saratoga Park, NTRA Champion Series leader Behrens looks to stake his claim as the best horse in the country. Don't miss the Whitney Handicap today, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only here on Fox. Back at Dover Downs International Speedway, we're still sequencing through green flag pit stops. We're posting Robbie McGee, Buddy Lazier, and Jimmy Kite as your top 3 positions. There's Kite in the Team Losi Dennis McCormick car, and by our calculations, all 3 still have to come down onto pit road for service.
Still great experience and opportunity for Kite to run up toward the front with his Dennis McCormick team. And how about Robbie McGee running at the front, just his 4th race, a great opportunity for him as well.
Now, so far in green flag stops, here's how that's shaken out. Mark Dismore did not do well. Sam Schmidt, well, he lost 6 spots. Robbie McGee, he's in 7th. He hasn't been in the pits yet, so that out as first really isn't applicable, nor is it for Kite, Lazier. But how about Goodyear? 4th spot, and he's out of sequence because of the pit stop to cure the rev limit situation.
I was just going to talk about Scott Goodyear here. We're riding with him. He came in a couple of times to work on the electronics, but in the meantime, they also filled up the car with fuel. So he's actually in 4th place, and I'm not sure if he has to come in one more time. I think he will have to come in for a splash and dash.
Scott Goodyear, again, like Lazier, has methodically moved his way up toward the front. It's been an up and down weekend for Goodyear, and he's in a pretty good position right now, despite the fact that he's had some problems.
He's really not that competitive today, but what he is thinking is points. He saw Scott Sharp go out and other guys. That's all he's thinking about.
Riding on board with Buddy Lazier, trying to lasso the car in front of him. That's Jimmy Kite. That's the Equipto car for Buddy Lazier.
He's coming on the rev limiter quite a few times, and you can see he's running a pretty high line here. And at one point, he was running so high he had to get out of the throttle, but he really hasn't been able. And Scott Goodyear now coming back in the pit.
Scott Goodyear was being posted in the 5th position, and I would think that this is an unexpected pit stop. He was having problems.
Change the tires, fuel it, try to start it. If not, take that side pod off. We'll replace the rev limiter with the jumper. Somebody give me a pair of side cuts.
There is the commands from the General Kevin Blanche. Indeed, problems with our current point leader. Now, Robbie McGee also has a problem in car 55. He does not have radio communication, so he's got to rely on the dash readout, the LED readout, to tell him when the fuel is dipped to the point that he should come on pit road.
And you can also look at his pit port guy who can give him the signal pit, which is on the back straight.
Buddy Lazier coming in.
Coming in very aggressively in the pit.
And Robbie McGee has run out of fuel while leading.
That's where that radio failure comes into play.
Steve Rogie, you're on pit road with Dave Conti and the rest of the crew. They've got to be in anguish.
They are waiting patiently. Robbie McGee slowed just as he went by the crew on the last lap. Now he will coast all the way around. Before that, they said the car was perfect. They had not made a single change all day. They still aren't going to change anything except, of course, fill that tank up.
McGee still creeping, trying to come in. Scott Harrington pulls in for what should be his last pit stop of the day. Almost overshot the pit box.
Well, that takes time, Jack. Every time you make a mistake, it takes time, and you can't afford to make mistakes that cost you time on this racetrack.
When you tour this racetrack at 180 miles an hour, every second that you spend on pit road equates out to about 800 feet on the racetrack.
And that makes, as we see McGee,
yellow.
As we see McGee trickle in, we do have a yellow.
Looks like Jimmy Kite has come to rest, bringing out our 4th caution of the afternoon. Now, Mark Dismore, with this caution, finds himself back in front with 147 laps completed. Mark Dismore also has had the fastest lap, 182.325, all the way back on lap 53. Let's check in with Steve Rogie.
Robbie McGee just pulled into the pit. A very frustrated team had to run all the way down the pit lane and pull the car to the pit box. Now they're getting ready to refire it, trying to do that now. They got the fuel in the car. They've got the new tires on the car. Very frustrating as they lost the lead by running out of the fuel. There goes the engine. Robbie McGee is back in the hunt, but not for the win.
And because the car ran out of fuel, it takes a long time to restart because the lines are filled with air.
Now this will change the point standings as well. Scott Goodyear continuing to rest on pit road, and this is not what this team wanted. The Pennzoil Panther team had hoped that they'd exit here on top of the points. Maybe not. Welcome back to Dover Downs International Speedway. All of the leaders have decided to come on to pit road. Why? With 50 laps to go in this race, it makes sense. Take on fuel. Could be your last stop of the day.
Definitely going to be the last pit stop of the day.
Go, 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 go.
Ari made the point at the beginning of the telecast, one of his keys, in fact, that pit stops would be a key today, and getting in and out cleanly will get these guys back in the hunt for a possible victory.
And look who breaks out first. First car out is at the top of your screen. That's Mark Dismore. He came in first, came out first. Guy that went in second, he comes out second. Hey, that is the Glidden car. And Calvin, you're down in his pit, Greg Ray's machine.
Gregoire had a great pit stop down here, but once again, Mark Dismore and the Kelly Racing team just pipped him out of pit lane, guys. It's going to be a close-fought battle to the checkered flag.
This will shuffle the front runners somewhat because those three cars were running 1, 2, 3. Now they will find themselves pulling back out behind some race traffic, and look who is the leader. This is the last time that Stefan Gregoire will drive for Dick Simon as a bachelor.
He and his fiancée, Virginie, will be going to France, their homeland, to be married soon. You had several people in the Dick Simon camp on the edge of their seat there, Jack, wanting to make sure that...
So we got guys that are getting married that are running really strong. We got guys that have been laying on the beach that have been running really strong. Okay.
Sam Schmidt, who recently welcomed the new member to their family.
Spencer, they call him Spencer. They finally made up their mind on what to call him.
So this will shuffle things around. 6 different lead changes amongst 6 different drivers. Very competitive field. We're still showing about 10 cars in the lead lap.
This is huge for Stefan Gregoire and Dick Simon's team, the Mexmel Tokheim car, because it's a small team. They came together just at the end of last season. They really struggled at times this season with a narrow suspension, but they are starting to put it together as the season grows along, and Richie Simon doing a great job with that car. And look where Stefan Gregoire is today, running at the top of the board.
And look where Sam Schmidt is. He was one of the guys that came in later than anybody else, made that pit stop. He's running in second place behind Stefan, but I think that Sam is okay on fuel for the remainder of the race.
This driver, Buzz Calkins, is trying to turn his season around. He comes off a very fine finish at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He was the first IRL co-champion. But ever since the start of this season, this team has been snake bit.
Struggling a bit, although they have finished all the races. They've not challenged for top positions in any of the events. And Buzz Calkins does 2 full-time jobs. Monday, he's going to be at Northwestern working on his master's, back to the classroom.
Now, this guy has actually finished more laps than anybody else in the IRL in 1999, but he's also been winless. Dick Simon is standing by with our Calvin Fish.
They're rolling the dice, guys. Why did you keep him out, Dick? What's the strategy?
Well, our fuel strategy is to go the distance. Our tire strategy is the same.
How many yellows do you need?
10 laps, and we're almost there.
Okay, it's going to be a close run thing, guys. Look for Stefan Gregoire in the final 10-15 laps. He may need a splash.
Dick Simon is indeed a gambler. In fact, one time he jumped out of an airplane without a parachute.
I'm not sure that really is a gambler.
Somebody else jumped behind him to get one.
I hope so.
But, you know, if they're counting on a yellow and they're not getting it, and as Calvin said, that the last 10, 15 laps, they might need a splash. Well, if they need a splash in the last 10 or 15 laps, it's going to cost them the race.
It's going to cost them everything because they'll drop right behind the tail end of the field.
Now, the key right now is we've got 154 laps completed is when we go back to green, the restart. We've talked about how there are certain techniques that drivers can use to try and get an advance, get a position. On a 1-mile oval, you take a spot any way you can get it. Restarts is one very important and effective way for you to get a jump on the competition.
Restarts are a difficult time, and I look at it as if there's any cars in between you and the guy that you're chasing, or if you're in ahead and the guy behind you, that's trying to chase you is maybe got a couple of cars on you. I think the key thing for us is to try and make sure you try and make time or try and gain that time. And the situation is that you hope the guys in front are ready to go when the flag drops.
A restart can be tricky because you might be flying into the corner at 180 miles an hour, and you may have only half the downforce that you usually have because there's 20 cars that just went through, created a giant void of no air. And we need that air to create all the downforce with all the wings that we have. So, you know, generally speaking, you're trying to assess the situation, try to figure out who you can pick off on the start or who might pick you off, and be as aggressive as the circumstances will allow you to be. And it's tricky, and it's wild.
Well, one thing about Buddy Lazier, it's a lot trickier than it was trying to go through a giant slalom course in alpine skiing. But Steve Rogie, he's been taking advantage of this caution to do something.
Yeah, you see a very happy Ron Hemmelgarn, his car owner. The rest of the team pleased too. Buddy Lazier systematically moving his way up through the field today, all the way up into third place. Now they say the car is perfect. Buddy is happy. They're going to win the race because they have enough fuel.
And you see Ron Hemmelgarn there, and there's Buddy Lazier stretching his hand, trying to get the circulation back. Also, Equipto has been added to Ron Hemmelgarn's sponsorship. You know how he got that, guys? He looked in a magazine that had all of the filing cabinets and the shelving, and he saw a picture of a competing race team. So he just called him up and he said, would you be interested in being involved with us? They got together, and lo and behold, Equipto has joined Coors Light and Delta Faucets in the Hemmelgarn stable.
Every avenue you can. You saw the stretching of the hands for Lazier, and certainly taking advantage of the yellow flag to loosen your body up, because as Ari has mentioned before, you are so tight with the gripping of the wheel that your arms do tighten up and you need to relax a little bit.
On the straightaways you tend to relax, but here you can't. It's so bumpy, you're always clenching on that wheel.
You talked about at the top of the show, Ari's keys to the game. Well, pits were part of it. When to pit, when not to. You saw with that pit summary that some guys gained from it and other people were hurt by it. Welcome back to the Monster Mile, who has reared its ugly head under caution one more time. Tice Carlson in the Hubbard Photographics car is currently being posted, well, a lap back, but he's had some problems. He's in the 9th spot.
Just perseverance. If you can get out there and last for the 200 miles on this racetrack, you're going to have a good finish, and I think Tice Carlson evidence of that. Right now he's running 9th.
Getting ready to go back to green. The green is out. Coming back up through the gearbox is your leader, Stefan Gregoire. He's in the middle of some heavy race traffic and being challenged by Dismore. Dismore got a real nice jump and looks to get on the inside and get into that 2nd spot. He got by Schmidt and Lazier on the start.
Boy, Schmidt held his own there.
Schmidt got back up through the gearbox. He says, I want 2nd back. He takes it.
And he wants 1st right there with Gregoire ahead of him. But Dismore got him in a great move. Dismore got trapped a little bit behind Tice Carlson, who's having handling problems.
And look who makes to the move to the inside. Greg Ray in the yellow and red Clinton Menard's car. All of a sudden, we've shuffled the deck, and it's Ray out front. Dismore to 2nd. Schmidt is in 3rd.
And it's all because Tice Carlson is right in the middle of that pack, having trouble with his car with the handling of it, and he's just in the way.
Gregoire listed as the leader, but Greg Ray really has made some great moves after that restart, and his car, as you can see, is hooked up as he goes by Jacques Lazier on the inside. It's only a matter of time, you believe, before Ray catches up with Gregoire.
Whoa, a close call there with 20. That was the Tice Carlson car slowing down, and he actually rubbed wheels with another car, Robbie Unser. And let's clarify things. Stefan Gregoire is still your leader. He is out front by approximately, well, just a little bit over a 2.5 seconds. All of the action took place directly behind him, and that was between Ray, Dismore, Schmidt, and that was for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
And remember, we've got 36 laps left as we look at Stefan Gregoire lead the race, but Dick Simon and Calvin Fish indicated that there might be a need for a splash and go for Stefan Gregoire. So while he's the leader right now, you've got to believe that Greg Ray and Mark Dismore, Sam Schmidt, Kenny Breck, they all believe they've got a legitimate shot at this.
Mark Dismore thinks he's got a legitimate shot at 2nd place. The yellow car is Greg Ray. Working the race traffic is Dismore, who started on the pole. He's trying to close to that rear deck lid of the car right here in front. That's the battle for 2nd. And look who is still the quickest out there.
Stefan Gregoire, the 7 car, at 179.3, the fastest lap. There you see him.
Stefan Gregoire is light on fuel. That will give him a little bit of an advantage here, being the fastest and having a clear track. But Gregoire is not far behind, and not far behind him is Mark Dismore and Sam Schmidt. So we're going towards a great finish here, guys.
The car that's about to go a lap down and that is in play in front of Stefan Gregoire is the Harrington machine. Scott Harrington, who run well early on. He's still in the 8th spot, but in a 1 mile oval, you can go a lap down quickly.
But he doesn't want to go a lap down, so he's going to be a factor. Look for Ray and the other guys to close in on Gregoire. Everybody's going to bunch up here, and it's going to be an exciting finish.
A torrid battle for 2nd spot, Calvin Fish.
It is. I just spoke to Tom Knapp, who manages Gregoire. He said Mark Dismore is going to be tough. We have the rest of them covered. Mark is the problem here today.
And he truly is the fastest guy out there, but you see he lost a little bit of his momentum as he tried to make that one pass, couldn't get it done. Now it's going to take him a few more laps, and we got...
Dismore's believed that he's had the fastest car on the racetrack in many events this season, but one form of bad luck or another has always cost him, as you see Gregoire charging on Stefan Gregoire for the lead.
And let's keep a look at this. Let's keep an eye on these guys here, because Scott Harrington doesn't want to go a lap down. As I said before, everybody's bunching up. We got 4 cars fighting over the lead, with Scott Harrington in front of them being almost a lap down.
You have a 180-mile-an-hour pick on the point. It shuffles the deck behind, and Dismore finds his position. That 3rd spot in jeopardy. Schmidt in the number 99 car snuck a peek to the inside, lost his momentum. All of a sudden, he drops off, but it almost is 3 wide down into the corner. Boy, this is exciting action at the Monster Mile.
Scott Harrington coming out of the turns.
And look, Schmidt does get by Dismore. Schmidt moves back down into that 3rd spot. It is Sam Schmidt, the Sprint PCS car, taking the 3rd spot away from Sam Schmidt. Look at Gregoire. Looks to the inside of your leader. They're hub to hub as they go into the corner. Gregoire takes over the lead.
Wow, this is exciting stuff, and it's not over yet, because Scott Harrington is a major factor in this deal, but he's just waiting for a yellow to come back to the back tail end of that lead group.
Be patient, Sam. Be patient. How patient can you be when you're in lap race traffic and you can't get by Stefan Gregoire in front of you?
I think he's going to get him pretty soon here, because he's got the run coming off of turn 2 here. Now he's going to pick up a little bit of a draft. And now go to the inside there.
Gregoire was the fastest car just a few moments ago, and now all of a sudden Gregoire has gotten by him, and Sam Schmidt looks as though he's going to have a good shot at getting by Stefan.
The frustration, though, for Gregoire, he goes to the inside of that potentially lapped car. Harrington gives way, takes the high side. That's a break for Gregoire. Sam Schmidt tries to use that to get by Gregoire.
I think now Scott's going to be a little bit fair with everybody, let the other guys go by, because now he is a lap down. He should be fair. It's going to happen right here. But let's hope Scott Harrington doesn't slow down in front of Sam Schmidt and cost him his momentum.
There are 25 laps to go in this race. We're on board. Mark Dismore. Dismore started on the pole, and at the present time, he is still running in a podium potential spot. He's posted in the 4th spot, but it is very tight between he and the Mex Mill car, Stefan Gregoire, in the battle for 3rd. So don't go away, because now it gets real interesting. Not a lot of time left here in Dover. Tuesday, the wildest fans and the hottest bands come together for the world's biggest live music festival. Don't miss today's favorite performers as they rock the country. In 2 hours, the best of Woodstock 99. And you will see it for free. Tuesday at 8, 7 Central on Fox. I went to the first Woodstock and was probably the only guy that actually bought tickets. Tell you what, I'd buy a ticket for this race this afternoon at Dover Downs. Gregoire is your leader, but the guy that is closing is Sam Schmidt. If we do not have a restart, Schmidt doesn't have to worry about the problem with 2nd gear. He can just try and ride it in high gear and close. Lazier is closing in the 5th position, but here's the battle. Schmidt, and directly in front of him, Gregoire, your leader.
So far today, first place has not been the place to be, because every time you get in the lead, it seems as though everyone else is able to catch up.
Well, the field has thinned out now, which is good for the guys racing for the lead. But of course, they came up on Scott Harrington, which played a major role in all these shuffling of the positions, because I'm sure Mark Dismore is a very frustrated man, having had the fastest car.
Fuel is still a question mark. What about it for Sam Schmidt, Calvin?
He may not have to worry about the restarts, but fuel will definitely be a factor. He is very close. The team have their fingers crossed.
Sam Schmidt is running out of fuel or something.
Sam is slowing down, Calvin. Schmidt has slowed down considerably. Cars are streaking by him as he comes down the front straightaway. This will drop Schmidt.
We understand maybe he lost something from the car, maybe a mechanical problem for Schmidt.
He is.
Left front wing.
There must have been contact somewhere if left front wing had a problem there.
You can see it flapping just a little bit. It looks like it might be the left front wing flap itself. What a tough break for Sam Schmidt. Had moved up to second spot. What a big break for the man dipping to the inside of Stefan Gregoire in the blue Mexmill car. Mark Dismore is champing at the bit now, taking up the hunt, realizing that he sees Schmidt's misfortune.
No room there, buddy.
Right down onto the apron. Dismore had to have very cat-like reaction to be able to save that car.
Well, the one car was on the right of Stefan, and it made it 3 wide going into 1, and it doesn't work. So he had to use part of the apron, which was very tricky because of the transition of the racetrack and the apron.
They're at different angles. The black concrete, the black pavement at a different angle than what you see of the white concrete.
And it could throw you up the racetrack and into the other car next to you, so that's a tricky deal.
Dismore's got the fastest car on the track, but he can't get by the traffic.
And look who is in play again. The car that went a lap down early and was involved in a lot of the bump and grind we saw, that white and blue Certainteed car, Scott Harrington, 1 lap down, providing an opportunity for the third place machine of Mark Dismore. The guy that is very frustrated right now is right behind Harrington in the blue and white number 7, Stefan Gregoire. Harrington takes a bead. Can he get by? Momentum, so very important. There are 13 laps to go.
You're on board with Dismore, but don't forget about Buddy Lazier, who's right behind Mark Dismore. And you see Dismore going down to the black pavement, and there's Buddy Lazier. He started 17th. He's moved up. He's had a very strong car in the late stages of the race, and just 13 laps to go, he's going to be a contender.
You know, with just 13 laps to go, you really would think that Scott Harrington, who's having a good run, but he is a lap behind. The leader is in front of him. He's not going to be able to join the lead lap. He should just get out of the way.
Harrington is Greg Ray's best friend right now.
Harrington is in 8th position, and his former driving instructor from high school is his spotter. No spotter needed right now.
Close.
Side by side and way down low goes Mark Dismore. They touch.
Yeah, it was so close. It was just, oh, what a pity.
A hard hit for Mark Dismore and Stefan Gregoire. With 11 laps to go, Dismore, who started on the pole, was running in 3rd, collided with Stefan Gregoire, who was in 2nd. They rubbed, they traded paint, and all of a sudden, the caution has come out once again here at the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200. 5th caution of the afternoon here at Dover Downs International Speedway. Welcome back to Dover, where we have a handful of laps left. We want to remind you, coming up next, live from the legendary and historic Saratoga Park, NTRA Champion Series leader Behrens looks to stake his claim as the best horse in the country. Don't miss the Whitney Handicap next, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, here on Fox. We are still under the 5th caution of the afternoon because of this.
Very close, very tight here. Nobody's fault, really, just a racing accident. It doesn't take much to just touch each other, get tangled up, and then go into the wall together like they did.
Now that wall is steel boilerplate 3/4 inch thick.
Tough break for both of these drivers. Racing incident, obviously, but they were running 2nd and 3rd, a legitimate shot at the victory, and we're trying to get around Greg Ray as well as you see him come into the turn 4.
You know, at this stage of the race with just a few laps to go, Mark Dismore was on the inside of Stefan Gregoire going into turn 3. Very close here. And he goes up the track a little bit too much. And they tangle.
We talk about the boilerplate wall. When you hit it at 179 to 180 miles an hour, you can move it back a couple of inches. We are just a moments away from resuming to the green. As you can see the scars from that crash on that boilerplate. And boy, Greg Ray is your leader. Buddy Lazier, Ari, does have a shot. Can he come up through the gearbox the way he does historically? He can put the pressure right there on Greg Ray. Harrington, yes, he gets by Harrington.
That was the key deal here, to get by Harrington, and he did. Harrington was polite this time.
9 car lengths between Buddy Lazier in 2nd and your leader, Greg Ray. This has not been settled at the moment. Will Gregoire be able to score his second career victory in the second of 1999 for John Menard?
Yeah, a sizable lead advantage. And remember, it would not only be a second victory of the season, but it would vault him toward the lead of the championship points as Lazier and Breck with a great fight for second.
At 19-second laps, that is not a sizable lead. You make a miscue, and bang, you can be losing that front spot.
Only 2 laps remaining.
The ivory silk is about to be displayed to Gregoire of Plano, Texas. 33 years that the Dallas Morning News never recognized a Motorsports Man of the Year. They did so this year for this man, Gregoire. Ray down the long back straightaway. There is his wife. Angela, hoping, watching, waiting. He will come across the stripe and score his second career victory. His best finish last year here, it was 15th in an accident. A very happy John Menard-led crew. The Glidden Menard people had took Gregoire on board this year after Tony Stewart left the team going to Winston Cup Racing. And look who congratulates him first. The man who came back home in second position, Buddy Lazier in car number 91. Kenny Brack was third. Billy Boat was fourth. We'll be back with more after this.
Today's Pep Boys Indy Racing League event, the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200 on Fox, has been sponsored in part by Pep Boys. Cars like us, people love us. By Pennzoil with Pure Base, made for the way you drive. Stop, go, Pennzoil. By MCI WorldCom, the official long-distance and local service provider of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. And by Firestone, America's tire since 1900.
In 1990, Gregoire went to a driving school, stood in front of everybody, said, I'm Gregoire, and I want to drive Indy cars. They laughed at him, but Calvin Fish, they're not laughing anymore.
They certainly aren't, Jack. He takes his second victory, the winner of the MBNA Mid-Atlantic 200, Gregoire. What a performance today.
Oh, man. I don't even know what to say. This team has done such a great job. I mean, we came here testing, and everybody was faster than us, and all weekend long they were faster, and we knew we could do 20.0. And every lap of that race, we did 20.0. This team is great. Thanks for Glidden. Thanks for all these guys. And, man, we're on our way to Texas.
This puts you right back in the championship hunt, Greg. And tell us about the last few laps, the lap traffic and the pass you made on Gregoire.
Yeah, well, those two guys I wasn't really worried about. I thought they maybe had to make fuel stops. And, you know, I was just trying. They were fighting with each other, and I got one at a time. And I was really worried about Dismore coming up. And, you know, on one of those restarts, I mean, they all got cluttered up. And we'd worked all week long on running the low line. And we came off at 2, and I went low, and I think I passed about 8 cars going into 3. So, like Tom Knapp, my engineer, said, and that was the move of the race. And I tell you what, all these guys did a great job. Thanks to John Menard and Tom Knapp. And Firestones were awesome today.
Let's move from Pep Boys Victory Lane down to Steve Rogie with the second-place finisher.
For the second straight year, it is Buddy Lazier. Buddy, a hot one out there. Greg just had a little more than you. What was the difference?
Well, I tell you, I think we were good. I think we were quick enough to give him a better of a run, but Harrington missed a gear there on the restart. He did a great job. I know he was trying to let us race for the lead, and I think he was trying to rush, and when he did, missed a gear, which I've done many times. So, and that just caught me out because I was right behind him, so I didn't really get a chance to get a run on Ray at the end. I think we were catching him just a little bit, but he did a great job, and we're thrilled to have second 2 times in a row.
How much impact did the heat and the physical nature of the track have on you?
Oh, enormous. You got to be smart just to make it through this thing. I mean, this is grueling. It's as grueling of any race I've ever run in 15, 16, 18 years. It is tough. I mean, we've got battle scars all over the car. So it's wheel to wheel, 180 mile an hour average for 2 hours around this monster mile is grueling. It's tough.
All right, Buddy Lazier, he won the Indy 500 in '96. Kenny Breck won it this year, and Calvin Fish is standing by with him.
He's pretty happy down here. Third place puts you back in the championship, Kenny.
Yeah, as we said a couple of races ago, we need to win 2 races of the last 5 and score good in the rest of the 3. And I think third place finishes, they're good finishes, but they're not wins. And we didn't really have what it took here today, but we're going to go back home and evaluate things and come back to the next one a little bit better.
You came from 4th in the championship to win it last year. Can you come from 5th this year coming into this event?
Yeah, I think we'll be right there in the end. You know, we just have to keep plugging away at it. And Power Team did a great job as usual, and AJ Foyt did a beautiful job setting up the car. But as I said, we're going to go back home now and try to get a little faster for the next 3 races.
Great performance by the Indy 500 champ, Kenny Breck.
Calvin, after every race, Kenny Breck goes back and writes a memo to A.J. Foyt. Well, he'll be writing one about his third-place finish today. Buddy Lazier, you heard from. Gregoire, your winner. Billy Boat soldiers home in the 4th spot. Sam Schmidt, despite the problems with the gearbox, is in 5th. Jacques Lazier in the Iron Giant Warner Brothers car comes home 7th. The rookie has a fine run.
I think when you look at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, those are huge finishes for all of those drivers. Obviously, Harrington may have had higher hopes, but still finishing 6th is a good run.
Some high emotions taking place on pit road. That is Eddie Cheever, and it's in the Harrington and Robbie Unser pit. Evidently, Robbie Unser is being blamed a little bit for the problem with Cheever. But we go back to victory lane and remind you that there were 8 lead changes among 7 different drivers. 13 cars were running at the finish.
Let me correct you on that. I don't think Robbie Unser had a problem with Cheever. I think that those guys had a problem with Harrington being upset about what he did at the end of the race.
Now look at what happened to the points. Scott Goodyear still is your points leader, but only by 2 points. And Gregoire alluded to the fact that we're on our way to Texas. Why? Well, Texas is the last race of the season. Kenny Breck, 179 points in 3rd. Now, why are points so important, Vince? $1 million to the winner of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League title in '99.
And as Calvin alluded to, let's go to Calvin Fish. He's downstairs with Billy Boat, who finished 4th today.
Another great performance by the Foyt team. Billy coming through the field. They had a lot of work to do today. How about this Monster Mile?
This place is tough, let me tell you. You know, whether this place is rough, smooth, or it's hot or cold, this is a tough racetrack. I don't care what the conditions are. You know, after 200 miles, it just flat wears you out. You know, we're happy to bring the Harris car home in 4th. You know, we had a little bit too short a gear. We're on the Revler most of the day, which kind of, you know, hurt us in the draft trying to pull out and pass. But, you know, we stayed out of trouble all day and brought the thing home.
How about the heat and the conditions for the drivers out there?
It was very hot, very, very hot. And, you know, this place it reminds me of, you know, a Belleville or a Winchester, someplace like that, where you know, it just beats you up. But, you know, here we had 200 laps instead of 30, so it was a tough day.
All right, as you can see, a big smile on the face just to finish this one.
Yeah, and he sounds like he's pretty tired, too. He's breathing a little hard there. It's a long day for Billy Boat.
Great day for the Foyt team. Breck and Boat, they both were chasing their tail a little bit during the course of the weekend, but a good finish with 3rd and 4th today.
Now, that's Greg Ray's young son, Winston, who was enjoying the 2nd victory lane. Winston and Simon were along with Greg at Pikes Peak International Raceway when he won. And you know who's not here? Well, his owner, John Menard, who wasn't there when he won at Pikes Peak either.
Yeah,
congratulate him.
Yeah, both times that Greg Ray has won, John Menard has been home. I don't think they're going to let John come to any more of the events.
We'll be giving you a Colorado Rocky Mountain High when we go back to Pikes Peak International Raceway Sunday the 29th on Fox Sports Net. The defending champion, well, we'll have to wait and see if Greg Ray can make it back-to-back 2 in a row at the Miracle Mile. Whitney Handicap from Saratoga coming up next. Absolutely one of the most beautiful and historic racetracks in all of thoroughbred racing. But the thoroughbred today at Dover Downs International Speedway was this man, Greg Ray of Plano, Texas. It may be the shortest race in '99 on the IRL schedule, but it was awfully exciting. For Vince Welch, Ari Lyondike, Calvin Fish, and Steve Rogie, I'm saying Jack Arute, thanks for being with us, and join us again at Pikes Peak in a couple of weeks.
This is the place where champions are crowned, where legends are made, and dreams come true. You're watching Fox Sports.